back, guys, and as you can see, I'm back here to do another video. What video am I doing? If you didn't read what the video is down below, then I'll tell you here. I am doing, yes, the Anthem one I am doing. Wait a minute, why is, oh gosh, hold up, guys. I'll be back again. Sorry, some of the videos I do not know what happened. They did not download, as you saw there. I downloaded the videos, but the downloaded the images, but they didn't show up. But I fixed it. So this is the redo of What If Deku had Anthem armor, but the name is gonna change. Versus What If Deku had basically had an origin or a legacy per se, or it's just gonna be called Deku's origin. No, no, just Deku's legacy. Now, Deku's legacy, well, what do I mean by this? Deku's legacy is obviously going to be Anthem, obviously, Anthem, Alan Walker, Assassin's Creed, and Watchdog. I would say four horsemen that are basically the four horsemen that I like personally, but I get the story confused a lot. But I think I got the story down now. So how is this going to work? Instead of like Izuku's father gonna be from another universe, that's not gonna happen. Izuku's father is gonna be from Earth, but he's gonna be descended from two major not races, groups, which is basically the Walkers and Anthem. Now, basically Zuko's mother is going to be descended, is basically the last member of the Assassin and Watchdog. Ow, that hurt. Oh, something just fell on me. That hurt. Jeez, ow. Okay, continuing on. That hurt. That really hurt. I hope you didn't hear that, but that hurt. That hurt a lot. I just had to pause for a minute. That really hurt. Continuing on, Izuku's mother is going to be the last member of the Watchdog and Assassins. Izuku's father, Walkers, and Anthem. How is Anthem going to exist in the same universe as these four? How is, the Walkers, Assassin's Creed, Watchdog, and Anthem going to exist in the same universe? Well, these groups existed long time ago. So the Anthem, basically, in the Assassin's Creed lore, there is basically a race that came before all humans that had, it was a very, how can I say, they were very technology advanced, and they created technologies that basically were very powerful, like controlling people powerful. That's how strong they were. That's how strong their technologies were. That was only one of the groups. You can say they were, how can I say it, they were basically the royals of the time that they existed. They were royals. But there was a group that worked against, basically rebels, that worked against these royals that came before mankind and humans, they called themselves watchdogs, obviously. And these two kinds always fight. But within these two groups, there are two more groups, which is basically one that fights a constant threat that comes every time, which could mean the end of their world, which are monsters that enter through portals that come from, basically, they don't even know where they come from. Monsters. As this basically general army that fights these monsters off, are called Anthem. They call themselves Anthem, as these are basically technologies that the assassins, like basically the other civilization, the royals of the civilization that came before humans, created robot suits for these basically soldiers to wear and to fend off against the constant threat of monsters that keeps on coming and to defend them. But there is another group that is basically where there is like basically like they need to code this stuff obviously, so they need a certain group that works on just codes and firewalls, and that's where actually no, they need a build these like basically watchdogs is hackers. So watchdogs are basically, you can say, they hate the royals, which is basically descent like royals, which they are the ones that created the apple with the like they're the ones that created the apple, and the watchdog members like try to bring them down. They are basically try to bring them down by basically killing, hacking, like doing whatever they can, because they're rebels obviously. They're trying to like free their slaves, as the people that built these massive cities that these royals live in are also part of the rebels, but they are part of a different group. They call themselves walkers. They are basically master builders. They also like can code. They're very like intelligent, so they can code themselves. They can hack as well. As they also joined the rebel group of this bunch of hackers because they are also working for slaves. As the basically the people that came before, or the royals that came before, you can say, they basically discovered something. They discovered that they discovered basically the end of their world, when everyone was gonna die, as it was pretty soon, like a few days, as they tried to prevent it. But when they released the news of when the world was about to end, the watchdogs, walkers, and Anthem, like watchdogs and walkers, and Anthem already had a plan for this. They already knew it was coming. It's just that the royals, you can say, the people that rules their people, didn't know, because they didn't tell them. As once the day came when the world was about to be destroyed, it was already too late. As these royal, basically people that ruled over these people, got eradicated, but an object of theirs still, like the object that was used to control them, still existed. The apple that was saved. The watchdog, like basically watchdog, was eradicated, but there are like still descendants. The walkers survived, obviously, and Anthem eradicated. So basically, but there are descendants. So the only like people that survived was walkers. Because if you didn't know, in the music videos, like the walkers prepared like for the end of the world already, long before, like like in the music videos, they prepared for this end of the world, as basically the end of the world came, and they are the ones that survived, as they restarted the world once again. But there are still some like royal blood descendants of walkers, as as basically two new groups started. Someone found like information of this, like basically the royals that came before, like basically the people that came before and that had this technology. As two groups started out of this, which was obviously basically this happened in ancient Rome, and the two groups were obviously the Assassin Creed, which was started, and the Templars. And these groups constantly fought. As times went by, as the walkers slowly got eradicated, the Templars grew in size and slowly started eradicating the assassins. As we make it now to the modern era, the modern era where the watchdogs, basically, the watchdog group was restarted. Basically, the descendants of the watchdog groups, like, basically, like, they returned. But not even this group survived long, because they were slowly, like, they had little people and their numbers were slowly going down. Until, until, basically, sorry if you heard that, until basically, the descendant of both the Watchdog and Assassin's Creed, which was Inko, and the descendant of the Walkers and Anthem, because the Walkers and basically Anthem and the Walkers were working together. So basically, Asashi is going to be both descendants. Yes, they were the last two on the planet. Basically, Inka was the last assassin and watchdog member on the planet that was still basically part of a royal line of assassins and watchdog, like basically a royal line dating back to when the like eradication happened, as basically they were the last two and they were being hunted down obviously by Templars, because the animus still exists in this one, as this is when quirks started coming out, as basically Yuko and Midoriya had a son obviously. His name was basically Izuku, but they didn't give him a second name because Izuku is gonna be an orphan in this one. As they couldn't keep like Izuku, they had to hide him, so they erased all knowledge that they had a baby. As they put him in an orphanage with no name, as they left him there, as they left him just with a name and a necklace that showed basically both Assassin's Creed Watchdog with this W, and on the front of the necklace there's like a small name that says Anthem, as basically they just left him with this necklace. And then there's a letter that says deku, which is Izuku, which is obviously what they both could figure out his name. And it's a letter saying that how they love him so much obviously, as parents should. um, it's basically a letter from their parents to Izuku, as basically is like Izuku like stayed in the orphanage for a few days. He got his letter much more earlier, like say now 4 years old he got his letter, as at 5, basically at 5 they thought, at 5 this is what they thought, obviously they thought he's quirkless. And because like this is in a society of when that like a lot of people has quirks, they think Deku's quirkless, but Deku actually did get a quirk, because Inko had just a quirk gene dormant. So Izuku did get a quirk, as his quirk, obviously as in the same, basically the last one. I'm gonna explain his quirk now. Okay, Deku has a lot of abilities. His quirk is obviously a hacker quirk, obviously. Um, Number one, he can obviously do the same things in Watchdog. He can hack into any devices, cameras. If he has a device, his quirk boosts his hacking skill. Basically, he hacks with his quirk, as because he's hacking with his quirk, the basically they it's untraceable. They can't track the hack because it's a quirk that's hacking into something, so they can't trace it back to him, Izuku. But they can only trace where the hack is coming from. Like they can only trace where the hack is coming from, which is a phone, obviously. Deku can use any device to boost his hacking abilities. What else? Deku has eagle vision. Deku can obviously do the same thing as an assassin. All enemies that is around him will be marked red. All things that he needs to kill will be marked gold. And like anything he like basically needs to pick up, follow, look at, stay or find will be glowing gold, as all the allies that is around him will be glowing white, and civilians and other things like that will be white. Obviously, as in canon, how like eagle vision works, you can x-ray see with eagle vision. You can see like electronics in the walls and how wires work and what they are connected to. You can see like certain spider webs in this, like basically in like a sky, a white web in the sky, as it's connecting like electronic to electronic to electronic to show how they are connected. As you can also x-ray see, obviously, how x-ray see works. You can see through anything, walls. As he is also basically, he's not trained to be an assassin. He just has good skills. He has basically an instinct for fighting. He's a genius. He's basically a genius, a science genius. Like, because he has like basically a lot, like basically he's descended from a lot of like smart people, including like Anthem, which they like also like kind of built the machines themselves as well. He's like very smart. He's very smart. He can like, he's just like very smart. He can make like a phone out of scrap. That's how smart he is. As like Deku is 5 and he was kicked out of the orphanage because number one, he had no quirk. Um, I am still gonna make Mr. Zawa adopted father. Obviously, I still want him to be adopted father. But I'm gonna make Izuku a bit more different in this one. As Izuku, like basically, he knows he has a quirk. He just never showed it. He couldn't show it because he couldn't get a phone or any like electronic in his hand to show that he has a quirk. And he doesn't know how to use his like just his quirk without using an electronic to hack. As basically while Deku is out like basically looking for food, stealing, obviously, he gets basically steals like someone's basically purse, as he gets chased by a villain, basically a hero, which is Mr. Zawa. As in my old one, he gets cornered by a bunch of villains as they beat on him, as basically this hero that was chasing him like basically like starts fighting these other villains that are beating on this basically child. As basically Mr. Zawa says basically takes Izuku in. I'm not gonna give the basically what Mr. Zawa says and all that. Like he just takes him in because he's basically a 5-year-old child stealing on the streets. You can almost basically Mr. Zawa sad, feel sorry for him. Shinso will be the cousin of Izuku, obviously. Like my last one, Shinso will be the cousin. Izuku will be a bit more like active, like whatever like devices you get, like you always like get like try to pick up a device or try to like focus his mind on the TV, like try to do something. Mr. Zawa thinks this is strange because what he heard from the orphanage that kicked him out was he was quirkless. As basically he finally gets the hang of his quirk as he hacks the TV finally without using any electronics, as he's basically like cheering, as Mr. Zhao is obviously shocked by this, like he has a quirk, it's just he didn't know how to use it. As basically he trades his quirk like every day. So like every day when he wakes up in the morning, he would switch on like certain electronics, like his toothbrush. Instead of turning it on, he would switch it on automatically using his quirk. The TV using his quirk, obviously. Like Mr. Zhao, like he doesn't need a remote, so he can just sit there and change the channels. Basically, any electronics that works on AI, he can also hack, like the oven, maybe the microwave, the fridge, um, like a lot of stuff he can hack into. As like Mr. like he's been training his quirk for a while now, as he's also been going to the same school Bakugo goes to. So Bakugo like is like still treats him like shit because he doesn't show his quirk often. Actually, Bakugo doesn't even know he has a quirk. Bakugo thinks he's quirkless, but because there was no electronics in school, uh, Deku like can't just hack into a camera, because if he hacks into a camera using his quirk, he will be able to see it with his one eye. Yes, he'll be able to see through the camera with his one eye. But he basically can't show that he has a quirk because there's no electronics to show that he has a quirk. So basically Deku like, yeah, like Izuku like trains his quirk like every time, like when he's walking past like a few how can I say it, like robots. When he's walking like past a few robots and there's like a runaway villain car, he would change like the lights. He would hack into the street lights and turn it basically all green, and basically cars would bump into the villain car and basically it would be trapped. As people would not understand what has happened, as you would also hack into like cars. So if there's like a runaway, like a getaway like car for a villain, you would basically run in with an AI car and there would be no one driving it. um if there's a villain robbing a bank, he would use an AI car to just run the villain, like basically run the villain over with a car. He helps in his own way. It's just nobody can trace the hack back to him because he's using his quirk, not any phone. So no one knows where the hack is coming from. It's just when they trace it back, the hack is bouncing all over the world. So the signal just bounces all over the world, and they can't track it back to Izuku. As Izuku is watching this villain attack, and basically Izuku uses his basically it's that rhino villain, that Mount Lady just dropped kick. Yeah, that rhino villain, big giant villain that was on the train track. As Izuku hacks the train track, as the train track is basically like the train is coming, as basically the villain is still standing there, as they are basically he's fighting with this wood dude, as Mount Lady was about to help until the villain just got hit by a train. As basically the cops say, I thought the train was postponed because there was a villain attack. uh Izu like, as basically the train driver that was like trying to stop the train gets out, as basically the cops is like, hey, what are you doing? As the train driver is like, it wasn't me, someone hacked into the train. As basically the cops are now investigating a hack and a villain attack at the same time. As basically Zuko walks away, like quickly goes to school while writing a few notes. He's still basically that hero nerd, but he doesn't look up to All Might that much. He just like, he wants to be a hero but not the number one hero. He doesn't strive to be like the number one hero. As in like Izuku's spare time, he's been like going to Dekaba Beach looking for scraps and making like suits of armor, like just making things. Because number one, Izuku's like basically quirk is not built for combat, so he's making something that will like help him like fight. As basically Izuku is just out of instinct, he's making it like a suit. He doesn't know why he started making a robotic suit. He just started making one. As this like this suit has a few things to it. As the first exosuit like Deku made was basically out of scrap. Like what he could find was the interceptor. It's the lightweight one, but he couldn't make, like, it was just out of scrap. So he only had the helmet, the armor pieces, like the armor pieces going down, uh, the armor pieces on the leg and the foot like machinery. He didn't have a lot, like all of the things down. As this one was a lightweight armor, but just made out of scraps of what he could find and forge and melt down. Deku is that smart to like make stuff, as he's making like the suit. As he tests it out at Dagobah Beach, he's fast. He's faster than the average person. If I could say how fast he was, he would go exactly the same speed as Ida. That's how fast he would. But when Ida uses her triple burst, Ida would outclass Deku in speed. As Deku hasn't put like basically the stuff at the back on, he didn't put that stuff yet on because he doesn't have the technology yet. He's just using scraps. As this helps him make, like, it makes him moves faster and he has a bit of strength. As basically he like basically he's also a science freak, so he likes making chemicals out of certain things. So the first like weapon, like the first like he makes a grenade, and it's an acid grenade. I would say it's an acid grenade that he makes, but he only makes like two of them because he only like no four of them. He only makes four, like for now. As Deku like finished the robot, as it's his last year at high school before he goes to basically UA, as like Deku is spending his last days at the school, as his grades is on top at all times, like he's a genius, and when his grades go down, is he's not like it's when he actually like he like fail like he wanted just to like he wanted his grades to go down when he wanted it to, but he never wants it to, so it always stays up. As basically Bakugo tells Deku not to go to UA. He's basically the same thing as in canon. As Deku, like, he burns Deku's book, throws it out the window, canon style. Deku goes, picks it up. Bakugo corners Deku, as basically Deku, instead of talking to Bakugo, he just walks past him. As Bakugo turns around, he's like, "Are you ignoring me, you nerd?" As basically Deku doesn't say anything, he just walks on. As I would say, Deku has a prototype of basically. I would say this like as how can I say it, Iron Man? Yeah, Iron Man's beam. Whoops, guys, hold up. I have to be. As Izuku has a prototype of a basically an arm cannon, like a laser arm cannon, like from start basically from Iron Man. As he has a prototype of that. As basically Izuku has been like tinkering with it in like under his desk. He's been like tinkering it with it, messing around with it. As basically when like Bakugo like tried to like grab Deku by the shoulder, he puts this like glove like slowly on. As he points it at Bakugo, as he fires, Bakugo gets just goes flying to the wall. As basically the thing like as like was powering up, and now it's like just powering down like as it like slowly cools down. As Izuku is like, huh, it works. I mean, praise this thing didn't blow up. As Izuku looks at it, as basically Bakugo's like, "You damn nerd, what is that thing?" As Deku is like, huh, if only you would know, if only you would like to know. As Izuku walks away, but like Bakugo couldn't chase after like Deku because he was like very badly hurt. Not like to the point of he's bleeding, no, to the point where he just needs to like sit there for a few minutes and just like basically groan in pain before he can move again. As Izuku walks off, as Izuku's walking off back home, instead of taking the shortcut, he doesn't. I'm gonna do the same thing like I did in the basically the other video I did. He doesn't meet the sludge villain. The sludge villain was stopped before he could hurt anyone. The same thing like that. As the sludge villain didn't show his face to Deku, as Deku goes back to what he was working with. As basically now like Izuku now has like a prototype laser cannon he can actually use thrusters. But Izuku has a problem, and that's the power source. He like needs to like he's trying to make basically a power source in a way. He can't like find the correct power source. As basically he's basically Digora Beach looking for parts. He finds basically how can I say it? It's like a it's like it's a basically it's an invitation for people to come see the generator. As basically there's a ticket. I would say it's like say now like 100 for one person, 150 for one person. As basically Izuku is like maybe he might get ideas there. As this is where he's gonna get his power source. I don't know what the suit power source runs off of. Like the Anthem armor or the Anthem suit's power source runs off of. I'm not sure of that. But I know that I'm just gonna like make up my own power source that it runs off of. because I'm not sure what it was, like what power source the suit is powered by off of. I'm just gonna make my own power source. As basically, I'm just gonna use Iron Man's like stock, like that generator. He's not gonna have that like circle thing in his chest. It's gonna be on his back because he's the interceptor, obviously. As Izuku like goes to this like reactor scene thing, as they're showing the reactors, as basically they show the smaller reactor, as basically just because of looking at this, he gets an idea and he buys a few parts online because basically he's been saving up like money to buy certain parts. As he buys parts online, as he gets scrap from basically Decorative Beach, as he makes a reactor. It's kind of similar to the arc reactor, but not. It's just it has a bit more power than arc that the reactor that basically Tony Stark made. Like in the beginning of his first suit that he made, it has a bit more power. As basically Zuko made it. As basically Zuko's like, ah, it's done. This will last me for a while. As basically now Izuku's like going all out on his suit. As the suit is done, as Izuku only has a week left. As Izuku takes the suit, basically it looks kind of similar, but like the chest piece, he has the chest piece, he has the arm like wears. Like this entire thing is like a glove. He has the helmet. He has that small wings on his back, as the reactor is also on his back. As he also has the boots. Basically, he has like these boots that runs from not from his thigh, from his leg, just here, all the way basically down to his foot. It's basically Deku is basically in the suit, as Deku's wearing the helmet as well. As basically turns it on as the helmet glow, like its eyes, like instead of the glowing red, it grows more like green. As the suit is not painted yet, so it glows like its eyes glow green. As Deku like starts running, as now like while he's running, the small wings on his back like glow blue, as they're like basically while he's running, he's like not leaving. He's not going so fast to leave after images. It's just this blue like light on his back. It's basically making like a line, sort of a line. As Deku is pretty fast, as basically like Deku says he needs like to make weapons. As for a week he makes weapons, as he makes a sword, and that's all he could make. As the entrance exam comes, as Deku basically takes the entrance exam, and also like when you like basically he states on like the letter that he needs something to assist his quirk, basically. As he brings in the suit, as basically everybody sees this person with the suit on, as basically everyone's like wondering what is this person wearing. Aren't you not supposed you're not supposed to bring like stuff that boosts your quirk into the entrance exam. As basically like he has like letters stating that he can, like after a lot of letters he has stating that he can bring this quirk thing like with him. It just only helps his quirk. As basically it's not powered on yet, as basically they explain the exam, as they explain the 0 pointer, as Ida like doesn't like Izuku's not mumbling to himself, he's just staying quiet, as Ida's like basically the talking about the like 0 pointer to President Mike, as he asks a question as why is this person wearing a quirk assisting thing. No one was supposed to wear a quirk assisting thing. As basically President Mike says that person has letters stating that that assists his quirk and he needs it to like basically use his quirk. As Ed is like, okay, very well, continue. As like President Mike continues, as basically President Mike says as soon as that door opens, you run out. As Izuku didn't meet Ochako in this one, not yet. He's gonna meet Ochako like when he needs to save him, obviously. But Izuku like didn't fall because Izuku was like basically carrying something to the UA. He was carrying a massive thing that was in a box, which was his suit, obviously. As basically Izuku gets to the front, as he gets in a running stance, as Ida thinks, does this boost his speed? As Ida thinks, does he have a speed quirk or something? As when the gates like start opening, Izuku's suit powers on, as the wings like the small wings like come up in a way, as it turns blue, as he basically just starts running, as basically he just like he's fast, but President Mike didn't say we must go, as basically President Mike is waiting. Is like, what are you waiting for? Follow basically follows his example, as everybody just starts rushing after Izuku, as Ida also starts rushing after Izuku, as Ida catches up with him, as basically Ida's like, you're fast with that thing, so you have a speed quirk, as basically like Izuku looks at him, as he says it like in the like this like the mask, he says like the helmet thing, he says sort of have a quirk. You can say I have a quirk. Basically, you can say I have something to that relies on speed in a way. As basically Ida like introduces himself as basically they come on the first like one pointer, as Ida like basically kicks the one pointer, as Izuku like puts his hand like basically on his back, as a small like sword pops out, as he pulls it out and he starts cutting down robots, as he's like jumping from left and right, as this robot is very agile. He can do backflips, front flips, double jumps. He can double jump. He can run on walls. He can do crazy stuff like that. As basically Izuku is like cutting down one pointers, two pointers, three pointers, and helping out his fellow heroes along the way, getting rescue points. As basically the zero pointer comes out, as Izuku sees the zero pointer, as Izuku wants to run, but then he hears someone scream help, as Izuku basically runs, like just on instinct he runs towards the the person that screamed for help, as he lifts the rubble up, as he picks Ochako up, Vital Cell, as he starts running, as Ochako's like, thank you, but who are you? As basically like Izuku introduces himself while running, as basically Izuku stops as he thinks like, hey wait, I have a hacker quirk. I was like, why am I running from a robot? As Izuku like stops, as basically looks up at the robot, as his entire suit like basically on his screen he gets like a sort of a basically he's now hacking into the robot, as basically when the robot like basically was about to step on Izuku, it stopped, as it steps back, as basically now it's just targeting one pointers, as it jumps on the robot. Izuku like starts like running up the robot as it jumps on its head, as basically Ochako's on the floor now. He put Ochako down, as basically this robot is now stepping on like one pointers, two pointers, three pointers, as he's doing very little damage, very little, because Izuku is like taking the best action possible, as the ancient exam ends, as Izuku like basically like jumps down, and before he could like land and just break his legs, he double jumps to like soften his fall, as he like lands, as Izuku runs back to Ochako, as basically he's like, sorry for that, I just had to do something, as the robot shuts down the zero pointer, as he picks Ochako and runs to the nurse, as Recovery Girl heals her, as like basically Deku puts her down and Recovery Girl heals like Ochako, as basically Recovery Girl is like, do you need some recovery? As Deku's like, no thanks, I'm fine. As basically it's like, okay. Recovery Girl leaves, obviously. Basically recover like basically gonna like help other children that's in need, as Izuku like basically takes basically a Izuku leaves like the exam, and basically he gets his letter saying like basically, and he also states in his letter that when he entered like the UA he wanted to take course in the hero course, and the basically the what was it? That's the basically like that. Basically, you build machineries to help somebody's work. He wants to take place in that as well, but he wants to take mostly in the hero course. As they accepted, as like instead of All Might being on the screen, it was Principal Nezu, because I would say All Might was busy with something else. As basically Principal Nezu was the one that says welcome to your like Hero Academia. As basically Deku is like excited, as I'm gonna stop it there. As this is the end of part 1 of what if Deku had a basically what if Deku had an oil basically what if what if Deku had a legacy. Basically what if Deku this is what if Deku had a legacy, as Deku has built his first robot, well, exosuit in a way. It's not a complete exosuit, it like doesn't protect him fully. You can still see there's still skin sticking out, you can see there's still like stuff he needs to work on, but now that he's in a new way, everything will be a bit more different. So I'm gonna see you later and in the next one. Bye.